What up, everybody? This is your boy Black Magus, and been a while since I've done a video, mostly because my Sony Vegas has been acting so fucked. It's been crashing a lot. Hopefully I can get through this video without it crashing. So apologies for not doing any content, but you know, between personal stuff, it's just been chaotic. Anyway, so Destiny 2 beta today is the day that it dropped for early access on PlayStation 4, and of course I pre-ordered it. I know you guys are like, why are you pre-ordering games? But as I tell people all the time, if you want to try out a beta and you're curious about a game, if you have an Amazon account, just pre-order the game. There's no money down. You don't get charged anything. You don't pay for anything until the game ships. So once you get that code for the beta, guess what? You cancel that bitch. Nothing comes out of pocket. You get to try the game and see whether or not you actually want to buy it in the future or not. No sweat. You know, it's not that big of a deal. So that's work the system, people. Work the system. Anyway, so what do I think of Destiny 2? Now, of course, I'm going to preface this by saying a couple of things first. One, if you were not a fan of the first Destiny, I don't know if I could recommend this for you, because as a sequel, there's going to be a lot of things that are very familiar, very similar. The feel, you know how sequels are. Sequels do this all the time. You know, you're going to get that same type of play style because they're not going to just necessarily change the whole game. I'm sure there's some people who feel like they should, but being a successful game, yes, Destiny was a successful game. Bungie knows they have a formula that is popular among a lot of people, so therefore, why would they break that? Just for the people who griped. You know what I mean? That being said, there are some changes. Some interesting changes, more nuanced like, but we'll get to that in a second. Second thing I want to say is, as a person who's been a fan of certain things of Destiny, there are going to be those changes are going to be changes that may piss you off. There are some things in this game that have changed that don't make it as easy as it was for those who played PvP. And again, we'll get to that in a second. But if you love the meta, or if you were someone who was fine with all the changes they made in the meta of PvP in Destiny, you're not going to be happy with this game, so you're not going to be playing a lot of PvP. Okay? So, those are the two major things. There was one more thing I'm always going to say, but if I can remember, I'll say that. So, as far as the game goes, feels much smoother. I have always said this, and to me it shows straight through. By cutting ties with last gen, you get a much better presentation. Visually, it's much better. It feels smoother. It feels much more polished. It just feels fluid. It feels very fluid. The sound, I love the sound. The way the guns feel really, really good. I've heard someone say that it plays more like Halo to them, which isn't a bad thing. Now, as a person who wasn't a fan of Halo, not because of the gameplay, but just I never got into the lore, the story, you know, it didn't capture me in that way, but I always thought it was a solid playing game. I like that a lot of Halo people are saying that it feels like a Halo game in that aspect, especially in the PvP section where everything's been shrunken down to 4v4. Remember, before you had control as 6v6, then you had Rumble, you know, which is free for all. I'm sure they'll still keep that. You had Trials and Trials and Elimination. They were 3v3 and so on. But everything that's team based is going to be 4v4, which it makes for a very, very interesting feel. Especially since the maps that they have for the PvP are pretty intricate, pretty close-knit. So, you know, not having that many people, you would think, okay, it would still feel a little more open. But no, the way that they do things with, like, say, the radar, it doesn't necessarily give away your position 100%. It tells you the general area, and unless they're really close, you're not going to necessarily be able to pick up on them. So you have to be aware. You have to be conscious. Like, if they're in the area, all right, I gotta like watch that area. If you scope in, the map's gone, so you can't see them. So you have to be mindful of when you're gonna scope in. That leads to some interesting firefights, because one-on-one exchanges, it's not about who can scope in first and shoot, but who can pick up their target and then shoot accurately, because the guns have a lot more recoil than they did before. They, you know, I watch people sniping, and I've seen a lot of people who love to snipe say that they can't hit targets like they used to, and that's because it's not as steady as it used to be. Stability on the guns was very, very high, and it was a perk that you could adjust. I don't see it as something that is that adjustable in this instance, but of course I haven't played around with everything all, you know, deeply, so we'll see. But from what I can tell, you're not going to just walk in and be able to just like shred things. If you're already a good shot in a game, in first Destiny, you're probably killing it. Now you actually have to adjust to the weapon, which I like, especially hand cannons. I've noticed hand cannons now. I have to adjust. I have to learn hand cannons again, which I like. I like stuff like that. Some people are not going to like this. And this is the thing that I don't think that some people are going to like, especially if you were somebody who was a super sniper, who was looked at as like this great god and all that. You're probably like mad because you don't have that stability that most snipers had. Of course, we don't know what all the weapons are going to have on them, how they're going to work. We're only getting what's in the beta. But from now, I could tell that they're trying to balance it out a little bit more. So it's not as easy mode, especially when it comes to abilities on guns. You don't see the crazy abilities that has taken over yet. On this, like in first Destiny, you know, like Thorn with the damage over time stuff and all that stuff. So they're definitely making a conscious effort to try to balance out the PvP side with the guns, and also balance it out on PvE too, because I've noticed like you do have to be a little bit better in PvE as well with your shot and stuff. The fact that shotguns, snipers are now considered heavy weapons is kind of good, because now those people can't just sit and you know, run around shotgun sliding and stuff like that. And this is coming from somebody who loves using the shotgun. You actually have to use more primary type weapons. Primary type weapons being submachine guns, which are cool. I haven't played around with them enough. Your auto rifles, your scout rifles, sidearms, hand cannons, and pulse rifles. So you use those in your first two slots, with the first slot basically being kinetic, meaning it's just there's no extra ability on them. Then the second being the ones where you get like your different elemental things on them. So you could if you're going up against somebody who's in their super, you would use your second tier weapon to try to take them out if you had something that matched the element or that could counter the element, like arc or void or you know, jeez, I forget the name of the third one, but you know what I mean, the burn. But anyway, so it just feels like they've been trying to like make this big balancing act on this one, and I dig that. I dig that a lot. And I hope that this is something that they tweak and continue to work on as time goes on, because I like not being able to you know, get stuck in the rut. Like Destiny, when they would make changes, everybody would switch to one type of playstyle, and that would be the meta. Like, I've never been that type of person, but it was hard to not fall into that, because with everybody else doing it, you kind of wanted to do it to keep up. So when hand cannons were the shit, you use those. When, you know, pulse rifles were the shit, you use those. When everybody was using fusions, you use those, etc., etc. You know what I mean? But now it seems like it's just all about how good you are with your weapon more than anything. That's for now, though. We don't know what the full game is going to be. It just feels like a better game to me right now. This is just beta impressions, of course, because we don't know what it's going to end up being full product. Now, I will say this. The beta is very limited. So if you're looking for a healthy dose of Destiny, don't. This isn't like the last beta where they gave you a huge chunk of the game and you realized once you got the final product that you just played close to a fourth of the game, which is crazy. This one, you're limited to the intro, and then you have a strike. Then you can play control, or you can play, I forget the name of the mode, but it's like playing, if you ever play Call of Duty and you ever play Search and Destroy, it's like that. So yeah, those are the two modes that you get to play, and that's pretty much it to the beta. Not a lot. So if you're looking for a healthy dose of Destiny, don't bother. But you get to play around with the 3 classes. The new subclasses are cool. I love Arc Strider. One thing I do love about each subclass and their supers is they're very beatable. They don't seem like ultra invincible like they were before in Destiny. You know, I feel like I can contend if I have the right weapon or if I approach it correctly. So I don't feel like I feel like in Destiny I would always challenge supers because that was just me. I'm not running, and there was a possibility that I might catch you. I think now a lot of people are going to be a lot more confident in approaching super. You're not going to be having that that desire to just run and hide. You're going to try to counter, which I like too. It just seems like they're trying to balance it much more all around for everybody. Supers don't last that long, so you burn them. You better use them effectively. It takes a long time for your abilities to recharge. So if you throw that grenade, know that you're not going to get an immediate grenade, soon, because so far there's nothing that they have on their armor or their guns that recharges those things in a super quick way. So you better be careful to make sure when you use your abilities, you use them when you're ready and you're willing to wait and be patient to get it back, because you can't spam that shit no more. So yeah, it's much better feel for somebody who's played Destiny. Of course, like I said before, if you don't like Destiny, you're probably not going to like this, because it is going to just feel like they polished the original. Of course, again, this beta being so limited, we don't know what the hell else is on there, because we've been told about the different things like lost sectors, side missions, NPC missions, things like that, but we haven't seen it. So you pick this up, you just play the PvP, the strike, and the story. You're probably sitting there like, oh, this is just a reskin, and you just don't clearly understand what's going on. You're just pretty much probably just carrying on the hate from the last one, which is fine. And it's funny because there was so much hate for that game. I never understood some of the things that some of the people were calling the first Destiny a cancer to gaming and stuff like that. Like, come on, people, it wasn't that serious. It's because you didn't like the game or it didn't meet your expectations. You're gonna go here. It's not that serious. But hey, people are gonna do what they're gonna do. It is what it is. So far so good. I'm gonna try the other classes. I only tried Hunter. Arc Strider is the shit. But once I try out the others, I'll let you guys know what I think of those down the line. Anyway, that's about all I can think of. So, as always, feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you think, and I'll holler at you later. This is your boy Blak, making it. I'm out, y'all. Deuces.